Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to One Hub Racing here for what is going to be a very exciting race here as we head to the Japanese Grand Prix for round number. But is it round number 8 already, Cole? Is it round number 8 already?
Yeah, round 8 already.
Round number 8 of the One Hub P2 Championship. My name is, of course, Michael Edwards, going to be taking you through the action, and joining alongside me, as always, is Colin Mason. Colin, how you doing, mate?
Hello, Mike. Hello, all. Yeah, brilliant, mate. Glad to be back. Obviously, we had a week break last week due to Mother's Day, which was in the UK. So we are back with a vengeance around, let's be honest, Mike, one of the greatest Formula One circuits ever created.
Yeah, the only figure of 8 circuit as well on the F1 calendar. I believe it's the only figure of 8 circuit that's ever been in F1 as well. For that matter, Suzuka, so many iconic moments in the past. Who can forget Senna and Prost coming together? Who can forget what's called Schumacher and I believe it was Villeneuve in the late 90s and trying to go through turn 1 and it just didn't work out. And obviously an incredible drive from Fernando Alonso in the mid 2000s as well. Let's not forget that. Same with Kimi Räikkönen as well. There's been so many iconic real life Grand Prix around this circuit, Cole, and there's definitely going to be some more excitement here tonight around this circuit.
Definitely, yeah. There's so many iconic moments, like you mentioned a couple of them, Mike. You got Damon Hill in winning the championship in '96 as well. We've also had our very sad moments around the track as well. Obviously, Jules Bianchi losing his life from an accident at this circuit, which shows. It is an old school track. There's grass everywhere. Drivers, they can't afford to make mistakes, Mike. There's not the concrete runoff like you get in France, where there's 4 miles of concrete to save you. You make a mistake around here and you're going to get punished.
Yeah, absolutely, especially in that first sector as well, because looking at that first sector in the S's, it is so treacherous, Cole. Is one of those sectors where you have to be absolutely pinpoint accurate with your steering inputs. And on wheel, you can have that pinpoint accuracy. On controller, it's quite difficult to get the hang of it.
Yeah, definitely. This is definitely a wheel track. I think we know that Proverb has recently changed from controller to steering wheel, and I'm willing to put money on that he's going to find this track a lot easier on wheel than he would have done on the controller. But it's not just the track they're going to have to contend with tonight, Mike, but they're going to have to contend with some wet weather as well.
Yep, the weather gods have not come in favour tonight for the drivers. Of course, it is going to be wet, very wet to wet in qualifying, and then in the race it's going to go from dry too wet later on. So there's going to be that element of strategy, the best lap to pit on, Cole.
Oh, it's going to be really crucial, isn't it? Because we're pretty certain that it's going to end on intermediate conditions, and you've got to time that to perfection. And that track is going to get quicker and quicker and quicker and quicker right until the end of the session. So it's going to be really important to be out there as late as possible, but not too late. Otherwise, you might not get to the start line in time to start your lap. So it's going to be a very tactical qualifying session, Mike.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, looking at the engine penalties for tonight as well, Cole. Only Jamie taking an engine penalty tonight in P2. Of course, his engine wear is looking a little bit shaky, so he's definitely going to need to take that engine penalty. And this track, not the easiest in terms of overtaking, but if you can just keep it on the track, keep yourself consistent, you can capitalize on everyone else's mistakes. And I think that's what Jamie is possibly thinking going into tonight's race and taking his engine and gearbox penalty here.
Yes, definitely. I actually think, I'm just looking back, I think Leor is also taking his here as well. But it seems a strange track to do it on because it is quite tricky to overtake. I think that's why we've only seen one or two drivers decide to take an engine penalty here. But, Mike, I know that you're a bit of an overtaking whiz around this track, but it is very, very difficult.
It is incredibly difficult to get any overtake done around this circuit. Realistically, you are looking at a very few overtaking opportunities. Of course, down the start finish straight with DRS down in towards turn number 1 and in towards the braking for turn number 2. That's where you're going to see quite a few overtakes. Of course, the run out of Spoon, very crucial out of turn 14 as you get that launch down the run in towards 130R. And then into the braking for the Casio Triangle, where I think we're going to be seeing a fair few overtakes as well. And another overtaking opportunity, Cole, is turn 11 at the hairpin. If you can get a good run out the second Degner through turn 9, you can have a little look down the inside and maybe catch someone napping into the hairpin.
Yes, definitely. We saw Sainz this morning do a great manoeuvre. I can't remember who it was on now, but he did do a late braking manoeuvre into that hairpin. And it's, from my point of view, it's always my favourite place to have a go. But still, you've got to get that right. And like you said, if you do get a really, really good run out of Spoon, you can get a nice run into 130R and maybe have a little dabble into the chicane. But it's going to be even more tricky with water on the ground, and we know that the end of the race is going to have some rain, Mike.
Yeah, this is where it's going to get very interesting. Of course, mandatory to stop here in One Hub Racing, of course. And it's going to be very intriguing to see what the tyre selections are going to be called, because the rain is coming late into the race. But do you risk medium, or do you go for the safer medium hard to get you all the way to that rain? In terms of what I personally think, I think you're almost guaranteed a safety car around this circuit just because of the nature of that first sector and how accurate you have to be in that first sector. We're going to see some people spinning off, and not just in P2. I think we're going to see some spinners in P1 as well, just because of that particular sector. But the way the circuit is kind of laid out, Cole, is like built for at least one safety car to happen.
Yes, definitely. There is a few walls as well, for that the drivers could end up going into if they make a big enough mistake. So I can certainly see a few safety cars. And of course, it's one of those tracks where you could get stuck behind a driver for lap after lap after lap, and a bit of frustration kicks in, and they go for a bit of an over-ambitious move, and it ends in tears. So I think this, the drivers are going to have to be a little bit patient and almost hound the driver into an error as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we jump into the action in qualifying, as the lobby is beginning to ready up, let's have a look at the championship standings here in P2. And Rich, my bad, as I went onto the gameplay instead of the standings, is Rich. Rich leading the way in the championship standings. on 105 points. He is 25 points ahead of Jess, who is currently in second place. And then we got J. Luke, continuing his incredible form since joining at round number 4. He's now up to third in the championship, 1 point behind Jess, Cole. And he is in third on 79 points. And we've got Joe on 72 points, 69 points for Funky in fifth. Quinn, after a very good start to the season, in the last couple of races, he's kind of fallen off the pace a little bit. 64 points for him in sixth place. Papa Squanch going up into seventh with 62 points, and 61 points for Salu, who is seemingly starting to turn it around now, Cole.
Yeah, I mean, his last 3 results have been brilliant. So third and fifth was obviously the sprint round in the last race. He really has turned it around. It is a bit of a shame that race performance wasn't there at the start of the season, because I'm pretty certain he would have been up there with the likes of Rich, Jess and J. Luke. But he is inexperienced, you know. I think this is only his second league racing season, so he's still got loads to learn, but he's having a great second half to the season.
Yeah, absolutely. And tied on points in 9th and 10th place, we have Cowboy and Leroy, both on 50 points. 46 points for Jamie in 11th. 35 points for Proverb in 12th. Then we got JR Mason in 13th on 31 points. 30 points for the man in 14th, that is Matters. Catherine in 15th on 29 points. 14 points for a guest in 16th place. Skrillex in 17th on 11 points. Ghost was left the league on 5 points. And then the drivers who are still racing, yet to pick up a point. M125, James Z Killer, and of course Trash Panda, who's still on that -3 points call.
Yeah, so I think M125 is going to be the one who's desperate to get some points, because yes, he returned to P2 obviously late in the season, but he's a former champion of One Hub, so he's going to be desperate to get some good results now towards the end of the season.
Yeah, absolutely, and obviously that is how the driver standings is looking. Let's have a look at the constructors, and no surprise, it is Mercedes leading the way. It's almost like we've gone back in time around about 6-7 years, Cole. Mercedes leading the way on 189 points. And they are quite a margin ahead of the team in second place, as Alpine on 133. Scuderia Ferrari on 114. Then we got Red Bull Racing on 109. So very close battle between the Scuderias and the Red Bull Racing team. Then we got Aston Martin on 80 points, tied with Visa Cash App Racing Bulls on 80 points apiece in 5th and 6th. Then McLaren on 77 points, just behind them. Then we got Haas on 62 points in 8th, Williams in 9th on 32 points, and then we got Sauber there bringing up the rear in 10th place on 14 points call.
Yes, so obviously Red Bull they're trying to target a top 3, but unfortunately Catherine has been having a lot of wheel problems with her steering wheel, so I think she's missing this week and next week, I believe, until she can sort out her wheel problems. So it's unfortunately all down to Jess for Red Bull. Catherine in the chat. So her wheel is dead, and she is ordering a new one when she's back from the work trip. So a bit of a technical delay for Catherine's season. But Mike, she's had a great start to the season.
Yeah, she absolutely has. But Cole, I think it's time to head out to the action, out on track, as we come on board with Quinn, who is just beginning his first qualifying lap here in full wet conditions. Cole, the wet compound tyres are out to play as we run down in towards turn number 1. Normally you'd have DRS wide open, but not in these conditions. As we go through turn number 2 now into the S's, very important to carry the momentum through these corners, Cole. Make sure you don't clip the inside curbs too much, because they can be treacherous as we climb up the hill now through the left-hander of Dunlop curve, where you gotta have your line right. It's so easy to drift out wide and get hooked onto that exit curb. but Quinn able to do well there first sector, 39 flat, and we see the first time coming in from Jamie as we go through the second of the Degners underneath the bridge on this fantastic figure of 8 circuit, and now into the hairpin for Quinn as Quinn goes all the way down into first gear. Not my gear of choice going through the hairpin, I'm not gonna lie, Cole. I had to be in a bit of a higher gear to get onto the traction a little bit better, but Quinn now coming through towards Spoon Curve as he throws it in fourth gear there. Now tries to hook up the second part where the exit is incredibly crucial, Cole, because now it sets you off on this back straight all the way down to 130R.
Yeah, here he comes into 130R. Now 130R in the dry is easy flat. It's not here today. You can see there's a little lift from Quinn as he heads into the Casio chicane. Does he get a good apex into the first corner? Yes, he does. Nice and smooth. Really tricky on the exit. It's so easy to back end. Keeps it nice and planted. No DRS, don't forget, as he crosses the line into 6th place.
6th place there for Quinn, and we're seeing lap times already coming in. And look at Salu's lap time. That is a benchmark and a half to be putting down at 41.8, Cole. Opening banker.
Wow, I mean, look at that. That is 2 seconds quicker than anyone else has managed. Yes, he could be low on fuel compared to everyone else, might have a few more laps, but still, what a lap. I mean, that really bodes well for Salo in today's race as well, knowing the rains at the end of the race. But what a lap from Salo. Very, very surprised that his wet pace is so strong. Funky, I see, is going to give it a go on the Inters, Mike.
Funky at the moment still in the pits on my
Oh, sorry,
end.
yes, so he is.
But Geese comes across the line. He goes up into P8. JR Mason just getting a bit of a sighter lap in initially, setting a 150.1. And I think now is when he is starting to push us a little bit more now as he comes to the line. I think the tactic from JR Mason is to feel out the conditions. He knows he's going to go to Inters at some point in this qualifying session, and it's just about getting comfortable around the circuit in these early stages of qualifying.
Yeah, I mean, this circuit for me is one of the most trickiest tracks in the rain. It's so difficult, so easy to lose the back end, and it's so challenging for these drivers. You can see every time I go on board, they're applying oversteer and an opposite lock at some point round the corner. So it is really challenging for the drivers here. But we know, Mike, that better conditions are coming. It's not going to go to slick conditions, but the rain will ease and it will go to Inters at some point.
Yeah, absolutely. And we got Probab on a lap right now. He's just come out of the hairpin on the run down towards Spoon. And the interesting thing about this call, obviously with the wet conditions, it's so easy to gain that battery back, so you can go back to back on laps depending on how much you want to burn down this straight in towards 130R and the Casio triangle. But it is very easy to get that battery back in these conditions.
It is. I'm just on board Proverb now. Does he go flat through 130R? He does just. That's quite impressive in these conditions. So Proverb there feeling quite comfortable with his car. What lap is this going to give him as he heads towards the line? It's going to be a 144 flat, puts him up into 6th place. Still 2.2 seconds off Salo still. I'm still blown away by that lap from Salo.
Yeah, and Salo in the pit lane now. Obviously, he could come back out to try and have another run on these wet tyres, but you can see the rain's already slowing, Cole. And with all these cars out on track, just clearing the puddles with the wet compound tyres, it's going to go to Inters, I think, in the next, I want to say next 2 minutes or so.
Yeah, I think so. I can see there's a dry line starting to appear. It's definitely easing now, the rain. It's not as heavy as it was at the start of the session. So I expect to see the times start to tumble now, even on the wet weather running cars. But Mike, I think that 41 is going to be a pretty impressive lap in intermediate conditions at this rate. Let's see. Proverb, like you said, Mikey, is going for another lap. Who else is close to finishing? Quinn's 3/10 up in the first sector. Jess is coming through 130R. She is 1.5 seconds down at the moment.
Yeah, 1.5 seconds and down. Probably low 7.5 times up nearly as we come from the middle sector split. And this is where the confidence of just getting the laps in nice and early is going to build for these guys out there on track, because as soon as you pop on those intermediate tyres and the conditions improve, you're going to feel much more confident, having more grip available. And you see that right there. Proverb goes up onto the front row with a 43.1 right there from the Williams driver.
Yeah, that's a brilliant lap from Proverb there. Puts him provisionally on the front row. But these drivers now, Mike, they've got to be careful. They've got to time this wet weather switch onto the inters to perfection. It's going to be very difficult. I'm curious to know what tactics they're going to use. Are they going to go for a couple of laps on the inters? Are we going to see some guys put limited amount of fuel in and only do the one run? That we'll find out in approximately 7 minutes time.
Well, we're going to find out who is going to be the first out of the intermediate runners. Papa Squanch has invalidated his lap, so it's not going to be him. I'm currently on board with Rich. Rich all the way down in 14th right now, the championship leader, as he is coming through the first sector split right now, up through Dunlop Curve and into the first sector. Purple in the first sector at 37.4, I believe was what indicated there in sector 1 for Rich. So in my opinion, Cole, it is intermediates right now.
Yeah, I think you're right, Mike. I think it's certainly at that stage where intermediates are quicker. Let's have a look. I see Rich now. He's on a lap. Let's see what Rich's sectors are going to be. He's coming round Spoon Corner. Oh, the more grip he's got now compared to earlier in the session is quite dramatic. He's heading up towards 130R now. Surely it's going to be pretty much flat, I would have thought. Let's have a look. He's got a car ahead of him. Yeah, easy flat for the Mercedes driver as they come into the chicane.
Yeah, McLaren up in front.
McLaren, yeah, I think he's probably boxing yet. Gets out of the way nicely. What's this lap going to be? A 1:41.3 on the inters. Doesn't that show what a lap from Salo that was? A 1:4, only half a second difference.
Yeah, only half a second difference, and the conditions are only going to get better and better from this point on, Cole, as we're seeing Papa Squanch in the middle sector, and he has done a 21.3 in the middle sector. Purple middle sector there from La Haas as we head into the Casio Triangle, looking for the braking around about the 100 meter brake marker board. As we throw the car through the Casio Triangle, to the line will come La Haas driver now. And it's going to be a 39.9 call. And this is where we're going to start to see the times begin to fly down. As the track improves, it's all going to be about timing now when you're out there on track.
Yes. So has Papa Squanch got time? I think he has got time to come back and have another run on a fresh set of inters. As Guest goes up onto the front row with a 1:40.3. What a lap from the Kick Sauber driver that is, and M125 pops it into third.
Yep, M125 up into third, and honestly, if you're Jess and Quinn, J. Luke, and you're seeing that lap time from Rich pop up a 41.3, knowing that you're about 2 seconds off from the wet common tyres, does that build you with more confidence that you can maybe out-qualify the championship leader here?
I would say so, definitely. J. Luke now, so he's down in 11th at the minute. He is still in the pit lane, Mike. He is leaving it right to the death at this stage, as Joe pops it up into 4th with a 41 flat. But my punt for pole, Mike, has got to be Salo. a 41.8 on the wets, I'm almost certain he's going to have a lot more pace on those inters.
Yeah, there's one person I'm going to be keeping an eye on in this race call, and that is the Red Bull racing driver of Jess, because Jess is a very good driver in Suzuka. So it's going to be very interesting to see what she can do over the course of this race, because, I mean, I did a practice lobby with her earlier. The race pace seems very strong.
Yeah, she's driving exceptionally well this season. It's the best I've ever seen her drive, ever. It's showing it with her up in P2. She got very unlucky last week with the safety car, but her performances this year have been superb, and she's there now, up in the top 10 as we speak, waiting to the very death to go out.
Yeah, Matt is 4.5 seconds up on his lap time, so this could be threatening provisional pole position right now. Coming through the Casio Triangle is the RB to the line. Will come Mathis now as he puts it on provisional pole. 5.2 second improvement, and that is just showing, Cole, how the track is evolving and the track is improving.
Yeah, a great lap for Matthias there. 7/10 quicker than Papa Squanch. So Papa Squanch has got a lot of time to find. But we can see that the track is getting quicker and quicker. Now, a lot of these drivers are leaving it quite late, Mike, and they don't want to get held up.
No, absolutely not. I mean, if I'm in the pits right now, I'm making sure I'm getting out there. As Jamie goes on provisional pole with a 39.1. Fantastic there from the McLaren driver, as Joe is about to get his lap underway. He's currently in P7 on a 41 flat, and I believe what Joe has done, he's had a quick lap and a cool down lap to get his ERS back to go again. So he's making sure that he gets accustomed to these conditions, as Papa Squanchy improves a 38.1. And now Cole, if you're Salo, obviously you had the pace in the full wet conditions. The track is just continuously evolving. It is getting better and better out there. Now it's all going to be about keeping it on track when it matters.
Yeah, exactly that, Mike. I mean, a lot of pressure. Oh, as Joe goes off the track, just under the tunnel. But what a lap from Papa Squanch. That's going to take quite a bit of beating. But everyone is pretty much out on track now, apart from Funky, who is in the pit lane, and I think that is his session done. But who have we got? Yeah, Funky there retiring from the session.
I'm staying on board with Salo right now, because Salo is the man to keep an eye on, and in fact we're going to go completely full screen for Salo as we run down in towards turn number 1. Of course, we have Jess and Rich, who are behind Salo on track. So Salo will be the first of the championship protagonists to get a lap time on the board. As we come through the S's, we did just see a McLaren getting out of the way. I believe that might have been Jamie getting out of the way there, as Jamie just completing a lap moments ago. And we come through Dunlop curve, and a little bit of a snap of the rear there for Salo, but he keeps it in check. First sector split, 1.8 up. This is exactly what Salo needs. This is the confidence building now for the man in the Alpine as we head into the hairpin. And let's see what gear that Salo is going to take it in. Now, that is more aligned to the gear that I would take the hairpin in. Third gear right there for Salo, as he looks to get the best traction possible out of the corner. Run down now in towards Spoon. Drops it down into 5th gear. Takes quite a bit of the inside curb. Very dangerous to be taking the inside curb in the entry into Spoon. But Salo gets away with it. And good traction on the exit. Now let's have a look at this middle sector split here, Cole. And let's see how much he's up by. And he is up by 4.1 seconds.
Whoa, that is huge. Now all he's got to do now is just pick your braking point. Don't run too late. Look at that. Perfect on the curb. Great on the exit. Ease the throttle on. Cross the line. Hug the inside. And it's a 36.8, Mike. What a...
Incredible lap time right there, and we're going to go on board with Rich, who's 2.5 seconds up on his lap time. It's not going to be enough to threaten Salo's lap time, but maybe if he can get himself onto the front row, that will be enough for Rich as he comes through the final corner now. And to the line will come Rich. He goes up into P2, and now what about Jess? Jess to the line. Jess will go up into P2 and gets ahead of Rich. J. Luke to the line. J. Luke invalidated on his lap, but he set a 37 flat call.
Oh, he's going to be fuming. He's going to start this race in 15th position, which is not going to do his title hopes
16.
any good at all. Look at Guest there in P3 as well, Mike.
Yep, yes, there with a fantastic lap, getting himself up in towards P3, the upper echelons here in qualifying, Cole. And this is where we were saying that timing is everything, because right there he's got the best of the conditions and he put himself in a fantastic space to start this race. But that's when you for the order is Salo with the pole position lap time there ahead of Jazz, who will join him on the front row. He's there in third with Rich 500 in fourth, Papa Squanch in fifth with Joe in sixth, Leroy in seventh for Jamie in eighth, Cowboy in ninth, and Quinn rounding out the top 10. Outside the top 10 we have Probab, Mattis, Mason, M125, Funky and J. Luke starting from the back of the field. Now we know Jamie is serving his engine penalty, so Jamie will be the one starting from the back of the field, Cole. But it's going to be a very difficult race for J. Luke, especially in the early stages.
Yeah, that's going to be very, very tricky. I wonder whether Mikey might even start on the hard tyres. It's usually not a really great idea starting on the hards, to be honest, but he might feel as though it's his best option because overtaking is so difficult. But he's got a lot of work to do now to get up into the top points. Rich will be grinning from year to year, seeing J. Luke down there, same as Jess.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, with Rich being in that position, he has Jess directly in front of him. So he has the ability of putting in a challenge to minimize the damage that Jess could do in this race to him. But what Rich can't afford to do is get off to a sluggish start and get jumped by 2 or 3 cars off the line, call into towards turn number 1.
Yeah, exactly that. They're going to have to, this is... I could see there being a few incidents in the first couple of corners, because drivers who are out of position, the likes of your J. Lukes, they are going to be desperate to gain positions, and they know that they got a great opportunity at the start. But Mike, they can't afford to lose any front wings. They're going to have to be a little bit, not necessarily cautious, but certainly aware.
I'd say the correct term would be hesitant, I think, on the opening couple of laps. Very hesitant indeed, because as you mentioned, wing damage around here, especially in that first sector, is not fun. I mean, 2 weeks ago we did see Jamie survive very well with a damaged front wing at China, but Suzuka and China are two very, very different circuits.
Oh yeah, I mean, Jamie unfortunately did, even though he crossed the line as Victor, did get a 3-second penalty from the stewards for going for a bit of a late move at the hairpin, which I would never criticise a driver for. He really had to go for it. Yeah, it was a bit, as Martin Brundle would say, a day late and a dollar short, but he had to go for it. And I think this is what's going to happen around here, Mike. It's going to get to the point where drivers are going to have to be a little bit aggressive to give it a go.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, we will see what those drivers are going to be doing when we come back after the intermission. But before we go, a massive shout out to our sponsors and partners here at One Hub Racing, to Next Level Racing, of course, Pure Sim Gear, Vespertwin, as well as, of course, Sim Grid, where, of course, we saw the fantastic stand-ins earlier. And last but not least, the Mental Health Foundation. If you do need to talk, it is important to talk. Make sure you do communicate if you are struggling right now. It is very, very important to do so. But, Cole, obviously, the lobby is going to be getting reset. And before we go to the intermission, who is your money on early doors for the race win?
Do you know what? I'm going to go Salo. I think Salah's going to break his duck, and he's going to get his maiden one hub racing victory. I hope that's not a commentator's curse, but I think that his pace is astonishing. And if he can just get himself into a good position when it rains at the end of the race, his pace that he's got in wet weather conditions, I think will enable him to take victory here. But there's going to be a lot of racing before we even get anywhere near the rain, Mike.
Yeah.
Who is your punt?
Honestly, my punt for the race win is Jess, because I know Jess has a bit of an affinity for this circuit. It's a very special track for Jess. And seeing what Jess's pace was like earlier in the practice lobby, like, I know in the dry she's got the pace, and I know in the wet she can do more than enough, I think, to hold her own. So I'm going with Jess for the race win. I think she's going to make it the first race win of the season. Of course, she did get a sprint race victory in round number 3 at Qatar, if you remember that, back in round number 3. But I'm backing Jess for the race win here tonight at Suzuka.
Yeah, she's going to have a great chance. There's a possibility she can take that lead into the first corner as well. It's always risky, but if she can get a good getaway, she can challenge Salo going into that turn 1. We've seen it done in the past year, but how much work has J-Luke got to do to get right back up there? Can Rich challenge them near the front as well? And how much progress can Jamie make through the field?
Well, only time will tell, Cole, and we will be finding out when we come back after this short intermission. And we'll be right back to get lights out and underway for the Japanese Grand Prix in just a moment. We'll catch you in a second, guys. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are back after the intermission break, and Cole, what an exciting qualifying that we just had. Salute a very impressive lap time from him, topping the times, and in terms of wet pace, he's looking an absolute shoe-in.
Yes, I thought of something, Mike, during the intermission, actually. Has Salo gone for a wet setup? Has he gambled and thought, right, I want a wet setup, I can get on the front row, we know rain's coming towards the end of the race, so that he's in the best position possible towards the end. And if that is the case, we should find that out rather quickly in these dry conditions, Mike.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, with this circuit being a very difficult one to get overtakes done, it's not a bad shout from Salo to actually opt for a little bit more of an intermediate setup call, as you mentioned. And speaking of Salo, he of course was in the pre-race interviews. We put the questions out. Welcome back. How are you feeling? Are you guys feeling refreshed after the mid-season week off? And Salo said it was definitely nice to have a week away from practice and prep, but he's happy to be back at it, and hopefully better than ever. And then of course Jamie saying, yeah, China had plenty of positive, even if the results don't show it. Having a break was good mentally. Jess saying, feel really good. I did have enough league load, another league to focus on, which means I didn't really have a proper break from the game, but it was good to spend time with my parents on Mother's Day. And Matt is saying, yes, I have been resting and not playing much. And goal drivers right now are out there on their formation lap and looking at the tyre compounds for the drivers out there on track. Very interesting spread. I would have thought I would have seen everyone starting on a set of mediums, but we got some soft runners and Jamie starting from the back on a set of hards.
Yeah, that I think is quite, to be honest, this attack, probably the tactic I would have gone for in Jamie's position to start on the hards. But I'm very surprised to see some of the soft runners. So I'm assuming that they're going to do a soft run and then onto the hard tyres and stretch the hards out until the rain comes, Mike. That is my assumption there as Salo exits the chicane and heads to his grid slot. Praying that he can convert this pole position into his first victory.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, in the rivalries this week, Cole, of course, we called Funky and Jamie in. They said after the last one, when you were both battling for the win, you both came to blows. Are we going to see a cleaner racing moving forward? Or are you guys looking to be the next Thomas Ronha? Funky saying, I think the racing has always been cleaner and will continue to be. I don't think anyone wants to be compared to Ronha in regards to the racecraft. And Jamie said, I think what happened last week was very unlucky. I was too far off pulling the move. The fact that the stewards only gave me a 3 second proved it. But yeah, we are going to go, Cole, to those 5 red lights. And do you want to get us underway for the restart?
And here we go, 5 red lights. Again in one hub. And Jess and his K back, but Jess gets a very good run. Is she going to have a look in the inside? No, Salo into the lead. He takes that lead. Jess in second place, Guest in third on those fresh, brand new softs as we are heading through the fantastic... Oh, we got Spinner and it is Papa round.
Papa Squanch and Joe off early. A virtual safety car deployed here on lap number 1, Cole. And I was on board with Papa Squanch here. He just got all out of shape in the S's, got hooked onto the outside curb, and Papa Squanch has retired and left the session.
Well, that is very surprising there. I don't know why he decided to. He obviously retired on track as well, which is against the rules. Stewards won't look kindly on that. Joe there with absolutely no front wing whatsoever, so he's certainly going to have to box. Mike, are we going to see any of these drivers risk a stop at this stage if the VSC stays out long enough for them to get in the pit lane?
So, if I'm on the softs, I'm pitting for a set of hards, and obviously if I'm Joe, I'm pitting for a set of hards as well. Just because you can take the hards all the way to the wets, and that's one of your 2 stops out the way, and then you can put onto the intermediates and go to the end of the race. And we're not going to get that option because we're back to green flag racing already, Cole. And Salah with a very good restart there. Just around about half a second off the back, runs a little bit deep into the Casio triangle. That could open the door for Yeast, perhaps, as we come on to lap number 2. As a bit of a lag spike there for Yeast as he's under pressure now from Rich Rywindran.
Yeah, Rich all over the back of the Kick Sauber. Guest having an absolutely tremendous race, and Rich has got him already, so that's really crucial for the Mercedes driver. J-Luke, look at J-Luke, up 8 positions from the start. What a tremendous start from the Mercedes driver.
Yeah, as he's just locked on and saw M125 getting through on Cowboy, as we saw Geese take a tumble down Yoda. Look at J-Luke, the run through Dunlop curb. Gets the move down on Cowboy, up into P6 now goes J-Luke on the back of M125 now. As Probab gets the move down on Geese, and Geese is going backwards in this race very early on, Cole.
Yes, I don't know what happened to Geese there. I saw that he pulled off the racing line, so I don't know whether he's having some technical issues. But he just tumbled down the order, now down into 9th place. Not where the driver wanted to be after such a tremendous qualifying. But look at the front two. Jess within that DRS zone, only 4 tenths, 3 tenths behind Salo.
Yeah, and just marginally better on the ERS as well. And this call is where we're going to see, I think, maybe a little bit of cooperation early on in this race because they do not want to lose time battling each other. They got a 1.2 gap to Quinn in behind. Quinn's not going to have DRS, and you got M125 and J-Luke getting onto the back of Quinn, and those two are not going to wait around for Quinn. They're going to try to force and get the move done on the Ferrari as quickly as possible. So here's the opportunity now for Jess, Salu and Rich to kind of pull away here. And Jess now into the race lead with the help of DRS, and now we're going to see if Salu's dry pace matches up to the wet weather pace he showed earlier.
Yeah, brilliant run coming out of the chicane for Jess as she easily leads the move with DRS, but has she got the pace now? She has used a lot to do that maneuver. Has she got the pace to stay ahead now? Salo, with Rich joining the party now as well. Quinn on those soft tyres, showing some great pace as well. As Jamie and Mason's already done a pit stop, he is on the hard tyres. He had front wing damage. He's still got the front wing damage, so the game didn't change his front wing, unfortunately. So Mason having a bit of a nightmare race.
Yeah, heartbreak for the McLaren down in 14th place, but it is a very long race, and on those hard tyres, he is going to have the opportunity to come back later in this race when the change happens as we go to the intermediates. Saturday getting a little bit too much onto the curb there. I think that might have been a needless warning picked up for the Alpine. And Jess, a new fastest lap of the race at 32.1. And here comes Salah with DRS straight through. Thank you very much. I'll take the race lead back. Thank you very much, Jess. So it's M125. All out shake coming through turn number 1. Gets the move down on Quinn.
Oh, I thought Quinn was going to be careering into there on the inside. Did manage to keep it. Is that a side? Oh, as M125 is sideways as well. Mike, these guys are struggling. They're really finding traction very difficult in these early stages with a full tank of fuel on board. But look at the gap between the top 3 and everyone else. Oh, as Mason gets a 10 seconds penalty for speeding in the pit lane.
Yeah, a heartbreak for Mason. I'm sure right now, I mean, normally Mason is completely against safety cars, as everyone is apparently from Wales. But I'm pretty sure right now he is praying for a safety car.
Yes, will the Mason curse of no safety car help be stopped here? But yeah, Mike, he is in desperate need of one, as Leroy is already got himself a 3-second time penalty. That is not what he wanted.
No, not in the early stages as well. And of course, he's 2.5 seconds off the back of Cowboy. So he's got no DRS to kind of tow him along as his tyres begin to fall away. Mattis and Geese battling out for P10, but we're staying towards the front end as it looks like Quinn with DRS might be close enough to make a move, but J. Luke is having absolutely none of it. He wants to make a move on the soft runner ASAP down the inside into turn number 1. Still there, coming through turn number 2. All about traction on the exit, and there's still marginally side by side, but it is J. Luke that gets the move done, and he's up into P5. And if you are Rich, that has got to be concerning for you, seeing J. Luke already up to P5 in the first 5 laps.
Yeah, he's going to be looking. Where on earth has he come from? As Jay Quinn having a go. Is it not quite close to them? But J. Luke there, he's run one as well. He's got his tyres dirty. He's completely off track. And he's going to lose at least 1 position. And he's going to lose 2 to Proverb as well. As he comes back at Proverb in the hairpin. That made not a particularly fair move from the Mercedes driver there. He should really give that place back. He did outbrake himself there.
Yeah, and here comes Proverb. Proverb having absolutely none of it. He's like, I'm not having any of this, mate. I'm going around you outside into the spoon. Have some of that, mate. And back through goes Proverb. I think J. Luke there, obviously, I was on board with Quinn. A little tap from Quinn on J. Luke's rear, I think, got him hooked onto that outside curb. And as you know, Cole, the outside curbs are just as lethal as the inside curbs, because the inside curbs will spin you, the outside curbs will just hook you and drag you off circuit and put you onto the grass. And that is where I think J. Luke has had a lot of his issues. Quinn into the pits at the end of this lap. He's opting to get off those tyres, and honestly I do not blame him. The soft tyres have definitely fallen off, and here goes J. Luke back through on Proverb. Clean this time around with DRS. Job done for J. Luke, but he's now 2 seconds behind M125, and he has a 3-second time penalty to his name.
Yeah, he's that's going to hurt him. Now, did he get that? Potentially, you know, maybe the stewards will be looking at footage submitted by J. Luke that 3 seconds was unfair. But 6 laps in, Mike, that's quite early to get a 3-second time penalty. So he's going to have to be a little bit careful. But Proverb, he is all over J. Luke. Is he going to have a look at the hairpin? No, he thinks better of it. But J. Luke's one run. Proverb having a great run on him now.
Yep, side by side action as they run down in towards Spoon Curve. It'll be Proverb with the inside line, J. Luke with the outside line. And it's going to be still side by side as J. Luke is going to be able to hold on to that, Cole. But what this is doing is allowing M125 to get clear of these guys. And it is just bringing a whole heap of cars now onto the back of this train. Because now Leroy's on the back of this train, as is Mattas here.
Yeah, this is becoming a bit of a collection of cars that has got end plate missing damage all over it. I can't even say it. All over it. They're going to have to be so careful. But look at Cowboy now. He's attacking Proverb as well. J. Luke there with very good straight line speed to be able to stay ahead of Proverb, even with Proverb having that DRS behind him. But all this fighting has really given M125 a bit of breathing space with a 3.6 second gap now, Mike.
Yeah, and this is where M125 will be hoping for, because he wants a podium, a minimum, out of tonight's race. And Rich falling out of DRS range on Jess definitely can help him, because he can begin now to try and close in that gap on Rich as we head towards the first pit stop phase call.
Yes, it's going to be very interesting to see when these drivers pit. Some drivers, Mike, I think are going to go onto the hard tyres towards the end, and some are going to see if they can stretch 2 medium tyres to the end. So it's going to be very interesting. But looking down the order, Jamie there, don't forget, he started this race in last place on those hard tyres, and he is already up into 9th place. With some great...
Proverb going inside the 130 yard job done. Proverb sees the opportunity, uses a bit of battery, and gets that move done. But is that just a little bit premature? Because he would have had DRS and now he doesn't have it. But J. Luke does not get the best of runs out of the Casio Triangle. And that is going to allow Proverb to hold on to P5 as we see Cowboy into the pits at the end of lap number 7 to get off those medium compound tyres. And I'm not going to lie, Cole, it seems like everyone pitting right now opting for a set of the hards, and maybe, just maybe, they're not confident in the pace of the mediums by the time the wet weather comes later in this race.
Yes, can Cowboy now, because he's got a bit of clear air. Oh, he hasn't really. He has got a couple of cars ahead of him, but can he undercut any of these drivers on these fresh, hard compound tyres? Leroy ahead. He's only on 1 lap old medium, so he's going to have some strong pace. His Ferrari teammate ahead of him on 2 lap old hards, with a big gap then to the top 9 who are yet to pit.
Yeah, and Salo has broken DRS range on Jess, and this is important now for Salo, as Jess trying to get back within the DRS range, as Rich is also trying to get back within DRS. Rich is just about within it, and Jess is outside of it. So now Jess, unfortunately, unless she can get a fantastic first sector hooked up here, as Salo's into the pits at the end of the lap 8 call. But what I was going to say, Jess needed a fantastic first sector to really get back within that DRS range, but now it brings Rich back into play.
Yeah, it certainly does. And there's another driver. Oh, as Matt gets a 10-second pit lane speed penalty. But Salo there choosing found tyres. So he's going to be now stretching these out until that rain comes.
Yeah, absolutely. Lap 9 of 27. We are a third of the way through this race call. And in my opinion, in terms of the strategies, I understand the option of going on the hards, but when you look at when you think the rain would be coming, honestly, stretching the mediums out an extra lap or 2 to go medium, I think might just be a little bit more beneficial. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm with you, Mike. I certainly would be doing. The only reason I think I would start on the hards if I was right at the back. But yeah, I think it's looking like possibly Jess, Rich, J-Luke and Proverb. Are they going to stretch these tyres and do the strategy, Mike, that we think we would do ourselves?
Well, time will tell. Of course, Jess still yet to make a pit stop. Same with Rich. J-Luke also. And of course, we have Proverb and Jamie yet to make a pit stop. Jess is in. Is this going to be for a set of the mediums, or is it going to be for a set of the hards? Salo on a set of the hards, and it is the white walled hard compound tyres.
Oh, so Jess is deciding the hard tyres as well. Now, let's have a look. We know that Salo was ahead. He did come out in clear air. Is he going to retake the position from Jess? Yes, he has, by quite some distance, Mike.
Yeah, fantastic undercut there from Salo on Jess. That gap now has definitely increased by around about a second and a half, I want to say now, Paul. And what that will do is, when you look at it now, you've got M125 potentially could get the jump on Rich here.
Yes, he could well do. M125 has already done a couple of laps now on these fresh set of hard tyres, and yeah, I think Rich is going to be in danger here of losing quite a few positions. He could even be behind Quinn at this rate. But is Rich stretching these mediums out for another set of mediums? Is Proverb doing the same, or are they going to be boxing very soon? Let's have a look. So Rich now, as he heads round 130R, heading into the Casio chicane, is he going to be staying out, or is he going to be boxing, Mike? Let's have a look. And he is in the pit lane, Mike. So let's see where Rich will appear now, which I'm assuming he's going to put the hard tyres on.
Yeah, I'm assuming it'll either be the hards or another set of mediums. There's another set of mediums going on to the Mercedes call.
Another set of mediums. Proverb gets a 10-second penalty. What a shame. He was having such a good race. That's the third driver, Mike, already to get a 10-second penalty for pit lane speeding.
Yeah, and there goes Jess through on Rich. I think Rich has done enough to hold on to his net P3 in this race. And when you think about the mediums versus the hards, it's going to be very, very comfortable for Rich in the opening 5 to 6 laps versus the hard compound tyres. But then you're going to start to see just a little bit of sliding going on with the mediums versus the hard compound tyres, and then you're going to see the hards start to equal out with the mediums in terms of their pace, and then last but not least, you're going to see the hards begin to have the better of the mediums as we get closer to the ring.
Yes, as M125 nearly lose coming out of the second Degner. Huge sideways moment, but does manage to keep the car pointing in the right way. Would not have done his rear tyres any good whatsoever, and Leroy is fast approaching now.
Yeah, Leroy on those medium compound tyres, as we said in the first 5 laps, the mediums are going to feel very, very good versus the hards, but did Leroy pit a little bit too soon for the set of the medium? So that's the question. As we are on lap 11, that is Gieser has gone around at the hairpin, and he is still stationary at the hairpin, so we're going to jump on board as he's trying to get his car going in the right direction. As a little bit of wheel spin, no safety car deployed, and Mason will definitely be a little bit fuming, I want to say, with that. He would definitely have been hoping for a safety car to be deployed to come out to play there to get him back into this race, because he got his teammate fast approaching, ready to lap in.
Yeah, it's and of course, if you do get lapped, you cannot unlap yourself under the safety car. So it's very, very important now for Mason to just keep going, put the quickest laps possibly can in, making sure that he does not get lapped. But they're not that far behind him, Mike. Jamie is at the hairpin. Mason has only just exited the hairpin. Yes, we know that Jamie needs to pit, so he has got a little bit of room for error there, but he's going to... It's just a matter of now keeping your composure, stay within the hunt, stay on that lead lap, and there could be a safety car to help you towards the end of the race.
Yeah, absolutely, and that right now is Mason's best chance. He needs to hope a safety car does come out to play, because of course, if Jamie was to overtake Mason, I don't think Mason would be too hard done if Jamie overtakes him, but when that safety car comes out, we know that Jamie's going to probably fly into the pits immediately. In fact, he's into the pits right now, so Jamie is getting out of the race lead. So it will now revert back to Salu, who has a 3.2 second lead over Jess, who is now going to take P2, but she has Rich Fyron, the championship leader, hurtling towards her at a rate of knots on those fresh medium compound tyres, as we see the fastest lap coming in from Jay Lucas. He's looking to try and get his way through this pack in front of him.
Yeah, Rich, looking very, very promising on those medium compound tyres, but can he stretch them to the rain? That is the key question. He's going to need to dispatch Jess as quickly as possible, but Jess is driving very well, putting the car exactly where it needs to be. She's got very good pace coming out of the chicane under the DRS, but these medium tyres under Rich is looking very, very strong at this stage.
Oh, J-Luke down inside the Quinn at the hairpin, and that's job done. Probably trying to follow J-Luke through on the exit, but Quinn's going to hold on to P8. And Cole, what I am beginning to see now is a potential 5-way scrap going on for the top 5 position.
Yeah, look at this, Mike. This is getting ridiculously close now. This is... Oh, as Guest gets a 10-second pin, and he's retired, I believe, in the pit lane.
Robert gets the move done before the turn-in for 130R on Quinn. Brilliant stuff there from Probo. It seems that his car is tailor-made for straight line speed, but he goes into the back of J. Luke, and that's Probo around. And that is the risk that you run when following a car ahead. It can be easily done, but look at this now. J-Luke looking to try and get a move done on Mattis and Leroy down the inside of the pit rim in towards turn number 1. What a double overtake there from J-Luke, but he's gone too deep, and that's Leroy back through, and that's Mattis back through, and that's Quinn going around the outside, side by side in the S's. Quinn and J-Luke, but J-Luke has to concede that position, and all that hard work that J-Luke just did, undone by just carrying a little bit too much speed through turn 2.
Oh, you'll be fuming himself. The maneuver was done. He didn't really need to do much more. Just carry half decent speed. But as you said, Mike, got his tyres on the outside, got on the marbles, and had no growth of now being in 6th position, or even 5th. He is now to 8th as Matthias is all over of that Ferrari. To Leroy, can he go 30R?
Apologies to everyone on the stream right now. We are experiencing some internet issues as I am seeing numerous frames being dropped right now as my connection is taking a bit of a nosedive at this moment in time. Hopefully it will stabilize very soon as we try to continue to bring you the action as Rich is closing in on the back of Jess, and we are still dropping frames call. Oh, Leroy's out this race.
Yes, as Leroy is up. He's hit the...
There we go, it says it is reconnecting, so hopefully we are now back live once again.
Looks good now.
Apologies for that, everyone. We did have a momentary drop in the internet connection through OBS, but fortunately it was under safety car conditions, so we haven't missed much in terms of the action out on track. What that does allow me to do though, with the safety car being out call, is swap over the controllers, because my controller is about to crash right here.
Oh, well, there we go. That makes life a bit easier for you then. But what a mistake from J-Luke there on the intermediate tyres. Surely he's going to be boxing this lap now, but he's going to have to go on to the medium, probably maybe softs. But looking on board, I cannot see any rain yet, but... is he going to stay out, Mike? Is this a gamble from the Mercedes driver? Let's see if he decides to box again. No, he doesn't. So this seems to be a plan from the Mercedes driver. But I am yet to see any drops of rain.
Yeah, probably also into the pit lane as well, as he may be thinking J-Luke might be onto something by here. Because look at where Mason is on track. He's just coming through Spoon right now. So the safety car, in my opinion, is going to be out for at least another lap call.
Yeah, I think so, as Mason's obviously up to full speed, but he's still, like you said, 40-odd seconds behind, so it's going to take him a while to catch up to the pack. So I can't see the safety car coming in this lap, probably the next lap. I am, at this moment, Mike, staring at the screen, looking for raindrops, because I first of all thought this was a monumental screw-up by J-Luke, but it could actually turn into an absolute stroke of genius here. But he wants this safety car to be out as long as... oh, Mike.
Yeah, he's hoping that the safety car will be out for at least another lap, so we can see the first droplets of rain begin to fall. Cole, in terms of the practice lobbies, of which we was part of earlier, the rain began to fall around lap 18, lap 19, lap 20. So we are close to the point where you would expect a bit of rain to fall, but it's a case of how quickly does it go from dry to wet, because that's a whole nother conversation.
Yes, that's right. Just because the rain starts does not mean at that moment in time the track is at intermediate levels, Mike. As you said, it's going to take a good couple of laps for it to change to the right, to the intermediate conditions, as Mason now is coming up to the back of the pack, and I'm wondering whether this safety car will be coming in at the end of this lap.
Safety car notification right there.
Yes.
Safety car in this lap, so Salu will back up the pack to get us underway again, and there is the rain.
Here comes the rain, man. So, has Sir J-Luke and Wapping Proverb, they've just got to survive now for a couple of laps. This is a masterstroke by J-Luke and Proverb. This could really here, but can they survive before that rain is heavy enough to switch the track to full inters, as we are back again? And it's a great restart from Salo.
Yeah, Salo getting a little bit out of shape coming through the final corner though, so that definitely the gap could have been a lot bigger without that small snap of the rear, but we're seeing M125 Mattis and JR Mason into the pits, intermediates going on all their tyres, and Mason is now breathing a sigh of relief because he is now officially back in this race call.
Yeah, he's going to be delighted. Thank God for that safety car. So he's now back in this race. He's on the intermediate tyres. I think it's too early, but maybe, Mike, it's worth a punt if you're at the back.
J. Luke does not appear to be really struggling to stay on the back of these guys in front of him, though.
No, but quite the opposite. He is hounding these drivers as Jamie goes down the inside of the Aston Martin on Funky. Look at the extra traction that J. Luke has got here. He's really in a fantastic position. Look at the amount of grip he's got. This was a masterstroke by J. Luke. I got a lot to make because I was quite critical of this strategy, but it's actually worked out to perfection here.
Yeah, not only that, you look at the cars in between Proverb and J. Luke as well. It's going to allow J. Luke to build a bit of a gap, and if he's a little bit quicker in the wet conditions, he might be able to extend that 3 second that he has in terms of the time penalties to get himself further up the order as the front three are all into the pitch. J. Luke is officially the race leader.
Oh, there's almost a collision in the pit lane. J. Luke, as you said, Mike, and Proverb now in second place. What about the M125 tyres? Have they managed to gain some time to jump any of the cars? Let's wait and see. As the queue in the pit lane, Mike, it's like the M25.
Well,
everyone's rushing in.
Jess is going to be livid right now because look at that, she's been jumped by Quinn in the pit lane. Ferrari have outdone Red Bull in the pit lane.
Yeah, this safety car has really... Yes, Jamie there, look at Jamie starting at the back, up in 7th place. M125 did jump a couple of drivers, he's up into 10th. Mason into 11th place. But J. Luke with a 3.5 second lead. Can Proverb close that gap and reduce it to under 3? As Salo, he must be absolutely fuming. He is 15 seconds behind and seeing his race victory disappear as we got the yellow flag.
Proverb's around. Proverb's lost the car. Coming on the exit of the hairpin. He's lost the car. That's wing damage now for Proverb. As now it is all in J. Luke's hand. He just needs to hope that Salo does not close in enough in the remaining laps to get within that 3 second time penalty, but considering he's got a pit stop advantage over Salo, that is going to be a tall order for the Alpine.
Yeah, I think so. Proverb was in such a promising position, such a shame, and he's got so far to go now. He's not got too far to go to get into the pit lane to change his front wing, but this is going to have him plummeting down the order. So there's Proverb now in the pit lane. He's going to have to put a brand new front wing on, and this, Mike, so late in the... What can he do? Is he going to be able to catch up?
Well, I think what Proverb is going to need now is a safety car to come out to help him. But considering what's going on right now in terms of side-by-side battling, we got Mason and Joe wheel to wheel coming through turn number 2. Mason holding it all the way around the outside, and he'll have the inside as we begin the S's by here. But Mason right now into the top 10 after what was an absolutely torrid start to the race for the McLaren. He's now in a points paying position.
Yes, I got to be honest, it's I know I'm biased, but it's the first time in about 3,000 races he gained from a safety car where it's actually helped him, so he's going to be delighted. But can he keep this top 10? He hasn't got a lot of he hasn't got good race pace in the rain round here, Mike. You can see him struggling a bit, but he is keeping the Alpine at bay for the time being. Yeah,
absolutely, and that's all he's got to do. He's just got to focus on his exits out of these corners, because just sideways through Spoon, and that's Jamie on the inside, and the former teammates again, Cole. They just can't stay away from each other. They're battling once again.
Oh, that was so close. Jess lost control of the car as Jamie's going to have a look into 130R. Is he going to? Not quite. Funky runs wide. M125 now on the inside. Oh, it's so tight. But I think Jamie's going to get such a good run now. Look how close he is. Is he going to be able to challenge into turn 1?
He's not got the ERS so-called, that's the issue. He's not got the battery to match Jesse down the straight.
No, as Jess has a bit of a slide into turn 1. Mike, you're dead right. He did not have the ERS, but he has got the pace over Jess at the minute. That is clear to see. But, Mike, I know J-Luke could be taking his time. I grant you. But Salo has taken nearly 2 seconds out of him. And he is absolutely flying, but there's just not enough laps left for Salo to catch J-Luke. J-Luke's going to have to make a rather large mistake for Salo to be in the hunt with this race.
Yeah, and I think the only thing Salo can do is continue to pile on the pressure. But it looks like he's made a mistake coming out of the hairpin because he's lost all the time that he gained, Cole.
Yeah, you see, yeah, he's lost quite a bit. So that's not what the Alpine driver would have wanted. But the intermediates, they're going to last for a while, but they are going to be a bit worse for wear towards the end of this race. So for J-Luke, certainly with 5 lap inters, how much wear did he take out of those tyres in the drier conditions? We'll have to wait and see whether he can make them last.
Yeah, absolutely, and we are going to find out the questions to that. But right now, we're side by side, and oh, contact between Jess and Jamie. Jamie kept his nose there on the inside, and he had his front right wheel alongside the rear left wheel of Jess. And yeah, I mean, he just could not get alongside enough to go for the move down the inside. And a little bit of contact, and that's Jamie now down to P9 as Cowboy overtakes him. Just getting overtaken by M125. And let's not forget, M125, a former P1 driver, of course, has dropped down to P2 now. He could make Rich's life a misery here, because if M125's got the pace on Rich, that is going to be difficult for the championship leader, because he's got one of his rivals right now winning this race, and he's not on the podium, and he could be falling further away.
Exactly that, Mike. And I think M125 has got the pace on Rich. He is catching him, and he's catching him relatively quickly, to be fair to the driver. Jess as well. I mean, they're all catching Rich at the minute. Rich seems to be struggling a little bit in these conditions.
Yeah, M125 and Rich, if they battle, that's going to bring the likes of Jess, Funky, Cowboy and Jamie all on the back, as we see Cowboy and Funky going side by side on the run into a spoon. Funky, though, the inside line far enough ahead. Cowboy smartly backs out of that move.
Yeah, look at the gap up front, Mike. It's down to 15.7 seconds, which is astonishing. He has really got the pace in the rain, but I don't think he's going to catch him up enough. We've only got 4-5 laps to go. Surely J-Luke's just got to bring it home now, as Mason and Matthias are battling over 11th place. Mason just ahead at the moment. Matthias right on the rear wing of the McLaren driver. But look how close it is throughout the field. M125 now is with second of Rich.
And Jess is just hanging within now 1 second of M125. They're all converging, Cole. At the end of this race in the battle for P4, we're going to have a 4-car battle, potentially a 6-car battle, potentially a 7-car battle, because you've got Joe now. Oh, Jamie's gone. Jamie's had a moment, and Jamie's off into the grass. So Jamie falling down the order, and now he's going to be battling the likes of his teammate and Mattis for the final points paying positions. Let's not forget Problem, though. He is closing in on these guys. So for Mattis and Mason here, this really is looking like potentially it could be the battle for the final point paying position, because Problem right now has shown a lot more pace in the intermediates and in the dry conditions than both Matthias and Mason here. As Mattis split down the inside of the hairpin, Mason gives him the room, tries to look for the better exit, but unable to get the move done.
Yeah, you're all right, Mike. Proverb is catching these guys up at a hell of a rate of knots. And don't forget, we got 12 hours. Just as I say that, Proverb goes into the wall. He loses. It's a safety. It's a safety car with just 4 laps to go. This now, well, this is going to blow this race wide open. But Mike, look at J. Luke. He's got a 3-second time penalty. Oh, as Jamie gets a drive through. Oh, that's such a shame for Jamie. But J. Luke, this is not what he wanted. The first safety car handed him the race win due to fantastic and brilliant strategy. And this race was his in the bag. But Mike, with that 3-second time penalty, we're not going to get many laps of running. What do you think, Mike? 2, 1, maybe?
Well, I mean, here's the thing, right? So, I mean, J. Luke is going to get onto the back of the safety car as we go into lap 25. We're going to have 2 laps of racing. So, the safety car is going to be in at the end of lap 25 as we go into lap 26. And it's just not enough for not enough for J. Luke to get the gap he needs on Salu. He needs Quinn to be his saving hero and absolutely send one on Salu in towards turn number 1. But that all relies on what kind of restart that Salu can get versus J. Luke, because Salu, as we know, has the pace over everyone right now in the wet conditions. And what does this do for Rich now? Because we saw M125 closing in on him, we saw Jess closing in on him, Funky, Cowboy, Joe, and now these guys are going to be right on the back of him with 2 laps to go. And M125 very eager to try and get some good points on the board for this season. He's going to be looking to try and get a podium potentially at the end of this race.
Yes, exactly that. J. Luke's in the pits, Mike. J. Luke is in the pit lane. So he thinks he's got a big enough gap to put on a brand new set of inters. And that will hopefully give him some pace then. But what's the other drivers going to do? Surely they got to stay. Don't box. Yeah, so he's staying out. So where's J. Luke going to appear now? So J. Luke, he's on the pit exit. He is going to lose the race lead. Salu's going to take the lead of this race, but importantly for J. Luke, he's going to have a brand new, lovely, shiny, brand new set of intermediate tyres.
Yeah, the question is though, will J. Luke be able to overtake Salu and build the gap to keep the race win? Because ideally, I don't think J. Luke is looking now at the race win. I think he's looking to make sure he doesn't fall behind Rich.
Yeah, I think that's probably a very, very valid point, Mike. He's going to have a lot more grip than the other drivers, but he does have that 3-second penalty. So he's going to need to get as far ahead of the field as he can. Personally, I wouldn't have boxed. I would have hoped that I would have stayed in front and pulled away, because even if he gets good pace, but we know how quick Salu is this J. Luke's thinking, Mike?
Potentially, and of course a driver to keep an eye on the restart as well is M125 and Jess. And of course Jess was called into the drivers press conference earlier. We said welcome in Jess, the season's been thus far been extremely good for yourself, currently sitting P2 in the drivers championship. How confident you in mounting a challenge on the top spot out of the remaining tracks on the calendar? What are you confident at gaining ground? Just saying she's very happy to be second in the championship. Season's gone better than expected, but I've had really bad luck over the last few races. Thank you, SCs. So I think Jess will be actually kind of glad for an SC right now, to be honest, to bring her back into the equation. Aim is a challenge for the championship, but of course the 2 Mercs have been on form, and but Jess saying she's not going to give up, and we're going to see what she's going to do at the end of this race, because the safety car call is in. We've got 2 laps of racing to go. Salu has had the pace on everyone in these conditions, but J. Luke's on much fresher intermediate tyres.
Yeah, it's this is going to be an incredibly exciting end to the race. Another late safety car in the P2 tier. When does Salu go? He's leaving it very... He's now gone, Mike. He is...
Salo has gone and he's broken away nice and early from J. Luke here, and J. Luke is going to have to think about his opportunity now of where he can maybe try and mount an overtake on Salo, but maybe what he's hoping is Rich and M125 start battling so that he can maybe keep a hold of a podium position here. But right now, M125 just not getting onto the back of Rich at this moment in time, Cole.
No, he's not quite close enough for the minute. Oh, he has a big slide, but manages to keep it nice and steady. Salo, he must be nervous in that car. He's just got a couple of laps, and he could take his maiden race, but in these conditions, Mike, it's so treacherous, so tricky.
Absolutely, it is incredibly treacherous out there, incredibly tricky to get this, to keep it on track in these conditions. I can confirm the gap between Rich and J. Luke is 2.5 seconds now, Cole. Only 0.5 of a second needed for J. Luke to stay ahead of Rich and maintain a podium position here.
Yeah, that's what he's going to want to be doing. That's going to be his target at this stage, and he does have the pace. Now look at J. Luke, he is right Salo.
Yep, and you've got M125 over the back of Rich as well, as J. Luke has a little look to the inside, but he's not going to risk it this late on in the race. The gap between himself and Quinn, 1.6, 1.7. The gap between himself and Quinn, 1.5 now. And potentially, J. Luke could maybe keep a hold of P2 in this race. He's already got a gap enough to keep a hold of a podium position. But as it currently stands, he's gaining enough that he could potentially get the move, keep ahead of Quinn. But battling with Salo through turn 2 is just going to hinder him and put him back in risk of losing the spot to Rich.
Yes, that's the danger. Rich got no pace in these conditions. He's really struggling. M5 is all over. But J. Luke, he's half a second behind Salo. Salo, just a couple of corners to go. Can he take his maiden one-hub racing victory? Mike, he's come so close so many times. Just a few corners to go.
Yeah, a few short corners to go for Salo. Spoon, 130R, and then of course the Casio Triangle. All that is left for Salo to think about. 1.9 seconds, the gap between J. Luke and Quinn. It seems like it's just going to be a little bit too much for J. Luke to keep ahead of Quinn here with that time penalty, but he's going to put in a charge to maybe take the win out on track. J. Luke on the outside of 130R in the wet, a la Fernando Alonso-esque, and he's gone and done it around the outside. J. Luke into the race lead, and now coming through the Casio Triangle for the final time here, Cole. It's going to be J. Luke taking the victory out on track, where it's going to be Salo taking victory with that penalty. Quinn will get second, J. Luke in third, Rich just ahead of M125 as they drag raced to the line. Jess in 6th place, Funky in 7th, Cowboy 8th, Matthew in 9th, Joe in 10th, Mason, after the horrors that started his race, comes home in P11, and I believe Jamie finished outside of the points, but the driver of the day, as voted for the in-game fans, is J. Luke. And Cole, there is one big question that we do have to ask now in terms of the finishing results here, because both J. Luke and Salo, in my opinion, both of them deserve the race victory. But did J. Luke's 3-second time penalty, was that caused by being forced off track? Will he be able to have that looked at by the stewarding team? That is going to be the question. But let us run you through the order one more time. It's Salo that takes the race win ahead of Quinn in second place. J. Luke there completing the podium with the fastest lap of the race as well. Rich in P4 with M125 in P5. Jess in P6 with Funky in P7, Cowboy in P8, Matase in P9, and Joe round out the top 10. The final 2 points paying positions go to JR Mason and Proverb in 11th and 12th. And the fastest lap outside the top 10 also goes to JR Mason, as Jamie finishing outside the points. Our non-finishers were Leroy, Geest, and Papa Squanch.
Wow. Well, I am out of breath now, Mike. That was ridiculously exciting towards the end there. Salo finally taking victory after coming close so many times, Mike. But I do believe it's my turn to go first for driver of the day, Mike. And for me, it's a very easy one for me. Has to go to Salo. His pace in the wet weather conditions was absolutely astonishing. So my question to you, Salo, is how pleased were you when that second safety car came out towards the end of the race, knowing that J. Luke ahead had 3 seconds? How pleased were you, and how nerve-wracking was that last lap?
I think we're going to be on the edge of our seats waiting for Salo to answer that one, because of course that is Salo's maiden victory, as you alluded to. And my driver of the day has to go to J. Luke. And
yeah, that's a good shout.
My question for J. Luke, after the disaster that was qualifying and the first stint, did you really expect at the end to be in that battle for the race win? And how annoyed was you when, after making the perfect strategy choice upon a set of inders in the first safety car, how annoyed were you that the second safety car got cold? And last but not least, how frustrated were you to be getting that 3-second time penalty? That would be my question to J. Luke.
Well, interestingly, I'm looking at the P2 tier chat, and J. Luke is under the impression that he will be able to get that 3-second time penalty removed. Yeah. So this race is certainly not over now, Mike. This race victory is going to be decided in the steward's office.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of, I mean, we did mention it, and as J. Luke made that overtaking maneuver stick, I mean, I did allude to the fact that when he picked up the 3-second time penalty, it was due to a little tap from Quinn on the rear of J. Luke that forced him just a little bit deep through the first Degner, which hooked him off track, and that's where he picked up the 3-second time penalty. But it's a case of, did he keep it clean from that point onwards? And if he did keep it clean, then we have a fair contest on our hands.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting, but regardless, what a great drive from both Salo and J. Luke. Absolutely superb driving by those drivers. Absolutely tremendous.
Yeah, and in terms of another driver that I just want to highlight as well, who had a fantastic drive, M125 as well. Looked very pacey towards the end. Quite unfortunate to not get Rich towards the end. He did seem to have the pace on him, and if that safety car didn't come out, I think he might have got ahead of Rich before the end of the race. But M125, exactly what he needed, Cole. A nice result to take into next week. And of course, next week, round number 9, Cole, we head to the desert of Bahrain.
That is such a different track, Mike, to Japan, isn't it? A very difficult track, especially turns, is it 9 and 10, Mike? That the sharp left-hander.
Yep.
That's going to be very tricky for the drivers. And, of course, a night race, which I think it's only going to be our, second after Las Vegas.
Yep. And,
I think.
Yeah, I believe, second after Las Vegas. Actually, was Jeddah a night race?
Yes, Jeddah would have been as well, yeah.
So it would be our third then if Jeddah was a
Lots
night race.
Then.
Right, but regardless whether it was a night race or not, obviously Bahrain up next, Cole. As you mentioned, a very different track indeed to the one that we have just gone racing at in Suzuka. Top end speed is going to be crucial, as there's a lot of straights to capitalise on getting a good tow, and of course that middle sector, you need to make sure that you have enough downforce to get through those corners, because we've seen in the past, the duel in the desert between the Mercedes drivers in the past, Rosberg and Hamilton. Remember that from back in the day. Are we going to see a one-hub equivalent of that with Rich and J. Luke, I wonder?
Oh, yeah, could well be. Yeah, of course, two Mercedes drivers fighting for that championship. It's going to be, you know, Jess has put herself up there as well now after another good result. It's, what have we got? We got 4 rounds to go, Mike. Still a lot of points on offer.
Yeah, a lot of points on offer indeed. And we will be back next week. But of course, join us in around about 20 minutes as the P1 tier gets underway. And it is going to be equally as enjoyable for you guys viewing to watch the P1 as it is in P2. There's always fantastic racing going on in both tiers, so make sure you guys tune in around about 20 minutes with J. Cole and Jess taking you through the action of P1. And Cole, a fantastic race. Whoever picks up the victory, whether it's Salo or J. Luke, both of them thoroughly deserved, in my opinion.
100%, especially the strategy gamble from J. Luke there to go on those intermediate tyres. Genius, absolute genius strategy. And it just really shows, you know, if you can have that little bit of brain capacity to think of a good strategy, it'll help you no end.
Absolutely. But guys, that is going to be it from the pair of us here tonight. We will catch you next week for the Bahrain Grand Prix, round number 9 of the P2 Championship. But make sure you tune in about 20 minutes time for P1 with Jess and J. Cole. Until next week, guys, it's goodbye from me and it's goodbye from Colin.
Good night, all.